Hello, hello, hello. Sorry, I had to have my sip of coffee in there to warm up a little bit. I mean, not warm up a little bit, because if any of you are here in Oshawa right now, it is a fairly humid day. Hello, Shelley. Hello, Bee. Ah, hello, friends. It's good to see that you're there. Welcome. How are you guys doing? That's a huge question these days, actually. So, for any folks who will be joining us, who are joining us, it is a scorcher out there. Yes, B, it is. For any folks who are joining us, maybe this is your first time. Perhaps you'll be watching this after the live stream component has finished and you're just watching me kind of talk to myself here. You're all very welcome. What we do here every Wednesday is have a really informal hangout, a pop-up art studio where we gather together, we create with whatever materials we happen to have on hand. I do something, but you don't always have to do what I do. Sometimes I don't know what I'm doing. Most times, in fact. So please feel comfortable to do what feels right for you, because these are interesting, complicated, difficult times. Strange, and fabulously full of potential possibility times. I don't know how else to describe them. Yeah, so if, like myself and B, you're getting by, that's a beautiful thing. If you're feeling okay, okay is good enough. If you're not feeling okay, then I invite you, if you're here and you feel comfortable to do so, to use this time to perhaps reach out for a little bit of okay, and to create whatever you need to create, whatever you want to create that helps you feel a little bit more of okay. And know that if you're not feeling okay, that's okay too. If you need some supports, there are folks to reach out to. So do what feels right for you. If you're here, you want to spend the whole time with us for the next hour and a half, that's great. If you just want to dip in and dip out for a few minutes at a time, that's all right as well. This is a space for you to do what you need to do. That's what I'm going to be doing. So I invite you to do the same. Dawn, hey. Dawn and little Liam. Liam, how are ya? Oh my goodness, I miss your face. I miss everyone's faces. But I'm also imagining during this time what people's haircuts look like. And I know Liam has rocked some super fierce haircuts in the past. Everything from like excellent surfer human to rock and roll human, sometimes little business person human. Some excellent looks going on there, Liam. So I hope you're feeling okay and enjoying this time with the folks that you love. And B says hello. Ray. Oh, Ray. Well, thank you very much for saying that, Ray. Well, you know, art appreciation is a really interesting thing. I don't know if I do art appreciation, but what I really love is artist appreciation. And we are all artists, especially now more than ever, because without the possibility of changing ourselves, of recognizing that we are ourselves a work in progress, you know, that's how things change. When we change ourselves, when we adjust, when we adapt, when we consider what we want to be, not just what we happen to be in this moment of time. But Ray, I appreciate you too. And I'm glad that you're still out there and hanging in. Now, what am I going to create today? B, I haven't given the spiel yet, have I? I don't think I have. Well, for those of you who come to the studio, you've heard it before. You can say it along with me at home if you like. But welcome. Welcome to this virtual pop-up living room space. You're welcome to be here to create whatever you want to create, whatever you need to create. We believe that everyone's an artist, so it's not just about that Eurocentric idea of what fine art is, or, you know, comparing ourselves to other great creators that we admire. It's anything that you make that helps you feel good, that makes you feel better, that helps you share your experience of what it's like to be you with the rest of the world. Because all great art is really just that. It's communication, it's storytelling. So you're welcome to do that during this time as well, with whatever mediums you happen to have on hand. When you're here, we do ask that you respect the safe space policy. So same thing. We ask if you know, to be supportive of yourself and others, to be respectful, negotiate consent. Sometimes that happens. Hello, Wendy, in the virtual chat that we see along the side here or at the bottom, depending on how you're viewing it. And do please remember that you're a part of the community too. So please be kind to yourself. And especially during times where we might be social distancing, you might just have your physical self. So please, please be kind to you and appreciate everything that you do, everything you are doing to be present in the world at this moment in time. We do ask if folks have been using or drinking that they come back and revisit the space at another time when they haven't been. And there's no judgment about that. But we want to know that we can communicate with one another effectively. And sometimes when when we're in an altered state due to anything, it's difficult to do that. And it's difficult to understand one another. And plus, there are folks who are visiting today, dropping in, who use the space for their own harm reduction or their own recovery processes. So, you know, it's difficult to be around stuff you're trying to take a break from. So I appreciate everyone who's doing their best to be respectful of that. The last piece, the final piece, if anything happens here that makes you feel uncomfortable, please let me know right away, especially if it's me. We're all accountable here, and we all help create this fabulous space together. Hello, Shelley. Hello, Sarah. Nice to see you again. Oh, well, we miss you too. And I miss the studio as well, although today it would be super sweaty in there, folks. Super sweaty. You know it. You know it's true. Yes, just revisiting that last piece. Sometimes difficult conversations happen. Sometimes awkward conversations happen. Sometimes we choose to enter into those awkward conversations because they're really important to have. They're not always comfortable things to participate in. So use yourself as the guide. And if there are things that maybe you might not be able to listen to today, things that maybe have heard too much of, maybe there are things that for you are just activating parts of yourself that you don't feel comfortable with, you know, hanging out with today. Take care of yourself, okay? If it's something you need to talk to me about, or you'd like to learn how to have a conversation about something that could be awkward, you can also ask. There are lots of ways to do that. And the awkward conversation thing has been on my mind a whole lot lately. And that's a part of humaning as well, how we connect, how we create, how we ask for what we need, how we learn to listen to one another so that we can understand why that may not be possible at this time, and learn what we can do to be more supportive of others so that things can move forward. Hello, Patrick. Nice to see you. And Lynn. Oh, Lynn. Lynn Griffin. My nurse forever. Lynn, it's good to see you. Welcome. Sometimes I'm saying hello, I'm shouting out people's names, I'm talking to a screen. Oh, Lynn, I'm so happy you were able to join. So yeah, for people who are just joining us for the first time, it's so great to see you here. And I see people when they comment and when they chat, but I don't necessarily have access to just seeing people who are clicking on to watch or listen along as they do other things. So I know you're there as well, people, and I'm so happy that you're here. It's okay if you don't want to join the chat. Do what feels right for you. But know that I'm grateful and so very happy that you're choosing to share some of your day with us. Be into awkward conversations. Yes. Oh, this is so into awkward conversations and how we can do our best to understand each other, not only as a volunteer at the studio, but in general as a creative human. I absolutely agree that creative humaning component is so, so important. And Lynn being here makes me think of that as well, because the first place I learned about creative humaning was through my work as an actor. And Lynn is, for those of you who may not know, an extraordinary actor in so many different ways. A creator in many, many things as well, but I first got to know Lynn as an actor. And I sometimes wish that everyone could have an experience in going through some kind of creative process in theater, or inhabiting another character, learning how to step into the shoes of someone else in your own skin. It's an extraordinary thing, and it helps key us into that creative humaning piece like nothing else. Like, really like nothing else, at least in my experience, but I'm biased because I'm an actor when I'm lucky enough. And I don't know if how do I integrate the acting into this today? I don't know. But I do feel like I want to spend some time exploring opposites today, along that theme of kind of awkwardness and figuring out what awkward can look like in a positive way. And it might lead to interesting conversations. So I guess you know what? I'll put it out to everyone. Along with those awkward conversations, something I've been considering is the concept of transformation. What does transformation look like? And if people want to share their experiences of transformation or what they consider, oh, thank you, Patrick. Compliments as an actress, I have to take time to acknowledge that, to practice saying thank you. If we want to consider what transformation looks like, right? And everybody can do that. Liam, you can do that too. What does change look like in ourselves? How do we get there? How does it feel? If anyone has any thoughts or stories or, I don't know, anything that they'd like to share on that theme, feel free. It can be a pretty interesting journey, that change. And it's not always just, well, rarely ever like turning on a switch, isn't it? Okay. And please, again, folks, if you want, let me know what you're working on at home. And if you want to share pictures of what you're working on at home, please feel free as well. Sometimes I don't always see them during the live stream, but I always come back and check them out afterwards. I'm messing around on my little desktop here, thinking, what do I want to work on? I've got lots of little things going on. I know I want to play with opposites. I know I want to play with the idea of transformation and change. I've got my little journal here. I promised myself I was going to do a cut-up poem a day, but I've only done 2. I do them when I'm with you guys, so I'm going to do another one today, I think, maybe at the end. Let's see. And change in 4 years. Be acknowledging the change. I think when I think of even the studio being open for 5-6 years, and the change that I've experienced during that time, change that has happened, the things that have happened to me that have brought upon change, the things that I've learned from other people in the community that have brought about change, and that deep internal change where I just become more aware. It's a beautiful thing. Not always pretty, though. That's for sure. And Shelley, wow. Went from almost dying to being alive with a new world. I've discovered for me to live the real me, the real you. Wow. That's an amazing thing. May I offer congratulations on that. That connection with the real me is the real anyone, the real you. What an extraordinary and precious thing. The realization that you can be you. And you're really the only one who can give you permission to be that or do that. It's an amazing thing. Oh, and Patrick did another interview with a fellow Canadian. Yes, Patrick. Yes. Hey, Patrick. You might want to interview Lynn Griffin as well, who's on the stream here. Maybe I can connect you two. Maybe. Lynn, sorry for putting you out there like that. But it's possible. Let me know if you feel like me connecting you two. Consent is important. I forget alone in my office. I need to check in. Consent is important. I'm going to start with collage, I think. And where did I... Oh, no, folks. Where are my scissors? There they are. Oh, the heap of things that surrounds me in my space. This is a time for thinking of authenticity. This is a time for wondering to exploring that idea of how do I give myself permission to be me. Some people aren't always safe enough to be themselves, not all the time. So for those of us like myself who have privilege to explore that more freely, I don't want to waste it. And yeah, change is not always pretty. Yeah. Oh, Dan, how lovely to have you join us today. Oh, Dan Walters, what an awesome human being you are. I don't know anyone on this thread yet, or who I imagine who's watching or listening from wherever you are, who isn't awesome though. So again, I wear my bias. And Dan, yes, I will be connecting you folks about future placement students. I got the email today. The Living Room, for those of you who don't know, is really lucky to have such an amazing connections to the colleges and universities in Durham region. And when we're lucky enough, we have amazing placement students come from their programs to join us, to help do programming with us, to help us behind the scenes with all the workings of this creative art hive life. And it's happening. The connections are beginning. So on here, Patrick Michael. So that's how you'll know Patrick. Lynn, Patrick Michael. We'll figure it out. But yes, back to students. The students and volunteers of the Living Room are really, they make the space. They hold the space, whether it's a virtual space or a real space. And in their own way, I will say, community members often become volunteers very quickly. There's a process to go through to make it official, but one thing I love about the Art Hive life in general, the Art Hive movement, is that very quickly people begin to recognize one another as resources. And they recognize the resource in themselves, within themselves, and what they have to offer. Because you don't always know what you have to offer. And there's not always opportunities to share that. You don't always know. Sometimes you discover it along the way. So being in a place where you have a practical opportunity to say, hey, I can do that. Or I might be able to help you with that. Can I help you with that? Or I have an idea. Can I share my idea with you? About life, about the art, about that creative humaning thing. It's a beautiful thing. B, yeah. B. I'm going to share that out loud. So because sometimes I wonder for people who are watching this afterwards, I make all these exclamations, but they may not see the chat that comes along with it. So I'm just shouting out names randomly. So B. I've been sober for just over 2 years now, and the Living Room has been an incredible place for me to start digging into who I want to be. Been working on that whole self-improvement piece for about 5 years. You are an extraordinary human being, B. I've known that for a long time now. And the process, it is a process. We are works in process. And by being exposed to different things in life, we learn more about who we are. It's like, I feel like sometimes we act as mirrors for one another, reflecting the best and the worst. So when I'm with B, for example, I'm drawn to the things I want more of in my own life, the kind of what would B do that always is in the back of my head. I'm also seeing things about myself for the first time reflected back that I might not have been aware of before. There are beautiful, beautiful things that happen. I mean, there are also opportunities in community where you learn where your edges are at, where you discover, holy, I didn't like that thing I just did, or that thing that they just did that made me feel icky. I know it feels icky because it's in me too. I do that all the time. I'm familiar with it. And we begin to identify things in ourselves that we'd like to hold on to, that we'd like to strengthen, and maybe things that we need to let go of now, things that don't surface anymore. And hello, Annie. How are you, Annie? Oh. World-class students to your heroes. World-class student to your heroes. That's how I see it. Dan, I feel like your students are world-class heroes, and I become the learner when I am with them. How about that? Yeah? Yeah, Shelley, the challenges, the change, left abuse behind, and now trying to help others find encouraging ways to feel good about themselves. Yes! What a wonderful thing. And again, we had to discover those parts of ourselves. We had to discover those desires within ourselves, didn't we? Because when we're in the middle of something, when we're in pain, when we're struggling, it's very difficult to imagine other people complexly. Not because we don't want to, I don't think, but because pain is there for a reason. It's there to alert us. It's there to wake us up. It's there to say, please do something. Please reach out for that support. Get that help. You don't have to be this way. You don't have to feel this way. Easier said than done. Oh, Annie. Hello, Annie. And hello, Courtney. Lovely, lovely, lovely. What a lovely community. And I also have to thank everyone who was here last week, it was a very difficult week for me last week. Difficult to articulate things. And this time where I create with you in this hive I realized it's become really important to me as well. It's helping me own my own stuff a little bit better, become a little more conscious of using myself to just being using that, if I can't be myself, if I can't use myself in the work I do, I don't know if it's work I want to do. And maybe that's a part of the actor in me speaking as well, because we do draw so much on our experiences and we ask so many questions. Part of our job is to understand what we don't understand about other people in the world, right? And so it's a very natural thing for me. Happy to be in community. Me too, Annie. And coming to this space has helped me an enormous amount. And I was thinking about collage today. Something about putting the pieces together that always brings me an enormous sense of comfort. But then there was a comment on our YouTube channel about an activity I did several years ago. And I was reminded of it through this beautiful person that I haven't had a chance to contact or connect with yet to say thank you. And I can't remember what the activity's called, whether I called it external landscapes or extended landscapes, but essentially it's taking a smaller image that you find in a magazine, any old magazine or newspaper will do, putting it in the center of a page, and then building it up around the edges, just expanding that world. So I think today I would like to play with that idea using this image, which has been hanging around. It's been hanging around for the last few weeks. You may have even seen it last week. I loved it, and I thought, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this, but I'm going to hold on to it. Because for those of you who don't know, I happen to have a big file, well, who am I kidding, files of collage material that I just hang on to for a rainy day, images that stick in my head or speak to me some way, not always in a good way. But they just strike a chord. So I hang on to them because one day, like today, I know it will be time to work with them. Yes, Lynn, that's good to hear. Art has been an amazing part of self-healing during isolation. I'm hearing that from a lot of people. And in fact, Wild Nellies posted something today about that, about how if you're not familiar with the Wild Nellies, they're a great, fantastic group, a collective of female identifying artists who create all different across all modalities, and they celebrate one another. They have and they will continue, I'm sure, once the pieces fall into place, to have, I think, monthly or bi-monthly events where they celebrate one another's work and a little showcase, offer a platform for these women to connect and share what they do, for audiences to ask them questions, learn about the different processes they use. Wild Nellies are amazing. If you haven't checked them out, please do. Oh, Kim, it's so great that you dropped by. Work. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, but you do such excellent work, Kim. I'm so glad that you're out there. So glad. So glad. I can't even... I have to be careful with the stories I tell about folks, but Kim Shilson is one of those amazing human beings, an amazing psychologist, amazing advocate and activist in so many ways. Maybe I'll let Kim tell their own story another day. Maybe I'll interview them and we'll share some of what they do. I'll connect with you, Kim. I'll connect with you. But again, just finding opportunities to celebrate what we're doing, it's awesome. And so I think that's in good shape. Yes. Oh, yes. And just what artist? Oh, that's an interesting image on the other side. Surprise. Not for today. Oh, I feel bad gluing over it. Okay, I'm just going to do it. Stick to it, Mary. There are other images in the world. There is always more. Again, artists, the people who own the artist in themselves, even if it's not something you do professionally, art is not a narrow path. So when there is time, for those of us who are privileged enough, I'm going to do this. Oh, yeah, no, I'm doing that. Those of us who have the time right now to reconnect or explore our creative voice, it's, for me at least, it has been enormously healing. Yeah. There's I hope this is something we hold on to. Personally, speaking for myself, not for the living room necessarily, just for me, I hope we can remember that taking time is a really beautiful thing, and time is such an incredibly limited resource in one way, in some ways. Hey Maggie, nice to see you, welcome. So when we have these opportunities to dive in, when we can explore and just become familiar with our creative voice, because it changes over time, I think, just like we do. Who we are, how we create art is not always going to remain the same. I think some art within some modalities it's easier to take in stride, and others it's more difficult. My actor self has a very difficult relationship with that, for example, because it also involves how other people perceive me, which is a whole strange world. But I needed this, to a certain extent, I needed this time to check in, to have a conversation with myself that I wasn't having as easily when things were so active. Change. Another pathway into change. Just having those conversations with myself. I know folks are joining in now. Again, welcome. Gather any supplies you have on hand. Create whatever you want to create, whatever you need to create. And if you're not up to creating today, and all you feel like doing is listening, having us on in the background while you fold laundry or do dishes or bake muffins or cuddle with your cat or your rats or whatever, that's okay too. Yeah, it's okay. We started off today with talks of transformation and change and awkward conversations. And I think in my mind, because awkward conversations often lead to change. Do I want to work with pencil crayons here, guys? I don't know. Let me dig around, see what I've got over here. No. Maybe I'll revisit the watercolors. I like the concreteness of this image, but I don't feel like my lines being as concrete as I want. I wanted them to be concrete, but I'm not. I'm not into that. Hello, Lottie. Welcome. Oh, greetings from the UK. So Lottie came across the living room and recommended on YouTube, and I had to investigate, just had to investigate, and I'm glad I did. I'm a young writer who's off to university in September, and it's nice to be virtually with other artists, even though we all express our creative voice in a unique way. Sending love to all. Oh, Lottie, I'm sending the love right back at you. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you so much for just trusting that and following that instinct and investigating and finding us. I'd love to see some of your work if you have a chance, if you want to share some. I know that can be a strange thing with writing, but if you have anything, perhaps you have, like Patrick, perhaps you have a blog or a place where you share your work, or Tumblr. Perhaps you've had stuff published and there's links to it, or perhaps you just have a poem that you'd like to share in the chat. If you're feeling comfortable, we'd love to see some of your work. I think that's what makes me so excited about this time as well. The disconnect, the personal, one of the personal, we personally have to detach a little bit and have a little space. But it's opened up this platform to connect with people from all over. And there are people that I've met who, through the living room, that through online work that we do, that I would never have met otherwise. Never in a million years. And that is something so, so very special, to know that relationships aren't determined by borders. They're not determined by distance. There's something about the way we create the space between one another that does not necessarily rely on being with one another in person. And we have a real opportunity to explore how that's done, what that means, what it can look like. Lottie, so great to have you here. Well, let's see. And writing is one of my things. I think before anything else in my life, I think writing was one of the things I wanted to do. I wanted to, well, storytelling. All art is storytelling. All art is communication. And definitely, we've been turning to art this last little while in pretty powerful ways, like the art of writing. I don't know, for folks, thank you to everyone who's been tuning into the Facebook page. And thank you to anyone and everyone who's been checking out the resources we've been sharing with regards to anti-racism and anti-systemic racism and challenging that inner colonizer within. Again, difficult and awkward conversations that need to be had, but there are so many great resources out there on many different platforms. So there's so many opportunities to grow that part of ourselves. And if you enjoy reading some of the titles that we've shared in the last few weeks, they're amazing. So I can't recommend them enough. And you folks might have some other ones that you'd like to share here as well. I love that it's become something that we can do. That the opportunity, that for conversations that we'd have quite naturally in the studio space itself, we can have them we'll have them a little differently now, but we can still have them. And Lynn, when I lived in Los Angeles, I did a collage workshop called The Monster Within. One project was to take a box, and on the outside of the box, you would collage how you think people perceive you. And you, on the outside, how you perceive yourself. Yeah, I love that too, Lynn. That's, it reminds me of some of the art therapy. And like, art therapy is its own thing, but how we use these activities, these challenges, these questions to explore things. I mean, I think inevitably it tends to be therapeutic, whether you enter into it with that idea or not. But that idea of who we are on the outside, who we are on the inside, and the assumptions we make about other people and how they perceive us, and how we perceive ourselves. There is like, opposites. Again, interesting push, pull, tension. Love it very, very much. Do you still have that? I wonder. And And Lynn's asking, how do we share your work? Oh, yes. So if you want to share work with the living room, there are a number of ways you can do that. You can post it in the comment thread here. If you have a picture that you have that you can upload, it's easier. Again, we're talking a certain amount of privilege here. If you have a phone or a smartphone or a way of easily, uploading a picture to your computer, you can do that. After each live stream on the Wednesdays, B hosts, or one of us hosts, but normally it's been B, so I'm so grateful that B's taken that on. Basically a show and tell, a community show and tell, so you can share pieces that you've worked on here during the live stream. You can share other pieces that you've created. You can share other pieces that you've created that you've been reminded of through the conversations we've been having here. It's uploading images or typing. Sometimes people type things in. If it's written, you can share your poetry. You can. I know there are ways to upload songs because music. I plan on being a musician much later in my next life. In my lovely music. I'm just gonna take a moment for music. But sometimes people can share songs as well. They like to share songs. That's a piece I'm not quite familiar with how to do myself, but I'm sure there are folks in the conversation thread here who could help you do it. Sometimes people will send me images personally, so if you want to email the studio or if you want to message me on Facebook and share the images, you can do that as well, and I can share them on your behalf. There are many ways. Many, many ways. Now, what am I doing here, folks? Not sure. I'm just extending. I've got to switch my coffee with my paint water because that's gonna happen. I'm gonna wash my paintbrush off in my coffee. It hasn't hurt me yet. Maybe you folks are better judges at that than I am. But essentially, any way that you feel comfortable getting your work to me, if you'd like me to share it, just let me know. Just say, please share this, and I will. And I also will occasionally take that work and put it into a collective collage of everyone's work and share it the following week. Because I feel like that's something folks are missing a little bit of. Just being able to see people's work. It's in the studio, for those of you who were there, it was always a beautiful thing. There's something about passing by someone's table and looking, just sort of stumbling on to what they're doing and catching it out of the corner of your eye, or seeing someone hold up something they're working on. It gave just a sense of, I don't know, God, what would be a good name for it, folks? That kind of collective, creative energy, even on sludgy, slow days where you just don't know if you have it in you. Sometimes those are the best days, when you acknowledge that you don't have to produce. Start from where you're at. Just start from where you're at and move from there. But it was a lovely thing to stumble upon work. Written work as well. It was the bringing storytelling, story sharing, story creation, like any kind of creative writing into the space. It's an interesting piece. There's a little something there that's challenging because writers also tend to be. It's something you do on your own. It's something very internal. It doesn't necessarily show up in the way that other art does. Yeah. And B's saying, just following him up on that sharing piece. Usually it's B. Love seeing all the wonderful art, whether it's something you create during the stream or I've been working on during the week or month or whatever. But I love to experience the arts everyone creates. Yeah. Yeah. And drinking watercolor might not hurt me. Yeah. I wonder if Deadly Grounds would appreciate if I just mixed a little paint water in with their coffee. And that's not a sponsorship. Although if we, Deadly Grounds, if you want to be our sponsor, I'm okay with that. Yeah. Community. So Lynn's saying, in answer to my question, the word is community. I call us artists in residence. Seems appropriate in isolation. Yeah? Yeah, we are all currently artists in residence. Yeah, I love that. I can't tell you how much joy that's bringing me in this moment of time. And Annie, yeah. So perhaps being in the studio, but I think also to hear, feels like being a witness somehow. And it feels amazing to be seen in our creativity. Powerful little interaction. Yeah. That, I think sometimes, regardless of what modality you express yourself through, it becomes important to be seen, to be heard, for other people to know that you exist, that creative, there's something, witnessing one another's work is important. And that's the only, I wish there was a way that I could, well, you know what? It's on its way. So every Wednesday we're going to be doing this live stream. That's something. Yeah, B is going to make an artist in residence sign for your bedroom door. Yeah, I think all of us should, we can all add it to the resume, folks. Artist in residence, our own residence, but it counts. It absolutely counts. Yeah. And B, if you do want to make calls, Brew Wizards or Deadly Grounds, they don't even need us to, they just want to, I'm just happy to have them be our sponsor just because they, you know, I like their coffee. They don't have to do anything. Just be our friendly pay it forward sponsor. For those folks who don't live in Oshawa, we have this amazing, beautiful little coffee shop / board game cafe called Brew Wizards. And it's the place where I was going to say all the wonderful weirdos go, but I don't want to speak for anyone else. I'm a weirdo that goes there, and I miss being there. They serve Deadly Grounds coffee, and it's just really good. It's really good coffee. And I went for a few weeks when I'd run out. And then that first cup, when I went out and I stocked up again on an errand day, and it was so good to have it back in my life. So again, opinions are my own, the living room, what have you. But yeah, I'm glad Brew Wizards exists. I'm glad Deadly Grounds exists. And Annie looks forward to seeing that. She looks forward to seeing B's sign, if B creates that artist in residence sign, because B, for folks who may not know, is hand lettering is one of B's amazing skills. And we'll see. Oh, and Carlos just joined. Hey, Carlos! Welcome, Carlos! And welcome to everyone else who might be tuning in midway through. I hope you're doing okay. As my students reminded me, they asked me the most beautiful question, how is your heart? Isn't that fantastic? How is your heart? We have 6 SSW, social service worker students with us right now, who I will tell you a little bit more about the activity some of the activities they're going to be introducing folks to in the next weeks. But last week, some of them, when they start these beautiful, we do this supervision with one another, they'll ask, how is your heart? Howdy, Carlos. How is your heart? So I feel like if you've got some heart stuff you want to share, everybody, you're welcome to do that too. How is your heart? Now, where was I? Not sure what's happening here. So, catch up. For those folks who are joining in now, you're welcome to create whatever you need to create. Spend as much or as little time with us as you will. Do what feels right for you. So if you don't feel like making art, that's okay. We've been talking about coffee. We've been talking about being artists in residence. we've been talking about awkward conversations and transformation and change, how it happens, when it happens, what it's like when it happens to us. The unexpected pleasures of discovering that you can be more, that you have permission to be more in your life. And Laura, hello Laura, nice to see ya. Yeah. And we have people joining us from all over. So for those folks who are listening but not chatting, I appreciate you being here too. For those folks who might be watching after the live stream is finished, I appreciate you being here and spending time, sharing some of your time with us. I may not see you, but I leave space for you. You're welcome. And Laura's, wow, Laura found a few hearts on the beach today. Care to share some images of those hearts, or would you like to describe them? And that alone sounds like, found a few hearts on the beach today, sounds again like the opening to an extraordinary song or a poem or a short story, or what a way to start something. Found a few hearts on the beach today. I'm pretty lucky I get to hang out with you guys. Now sometimes, last week I was thinking of this and wondering if I talk a little too much when I'm here. So from time to time, if I go quiet, I'm not forgetting about you folks. I think I'm just making a little extra space within myself. Perhaps to reflect on the conversations we're having. But don't worry, I love chatting, so it won't last too long. Oh, Lynn, is not collage the transformation of one image or a group of images that you transform into another collective image that you see through your eyes and lens? Yes. I think that's one of the reasons why now I'm doing something a little different with this one today, but yes, it's one of the reasons I'm so drawn to collage as an art form. One, I think it's one way when I'm feeling, like personally again, when I'm feeling stuck, when I'm not sure, when I'm feeling afraid, when my inner critic is really acting up and challenging me. And for those of you who know me, I have a choir of inner critics who make themselves seen and heard at various times, usually when I don't want them to. At one point in my life, I think they were there to help me cope, but, over time, I've gotten better at coping. At least I think I have. I try every day, work in process. But they still see, when I'm feeling a little vulnerable, so they jump in. Collage is one of those ways I can quiet them, talk back to them, because it allows me to just gather the different images to compile exactly as you said. It's a transformation process, and whenever I'm working on collage with others, whether it's a workshop or it could be anything from a vision board to soul collage or anything, just doing your own thing with collage. I love to remind people to not limit themselves to choosing or selecting images that just appeal to them aesthetically. I think it's so, for me in my process, I found it's so rewarding to let images find me. So again, just, what I was mentioning before, sometimes that means the images that I select or tear out may not be pretty. I may not understand why they're there, but similar to just letting myself write without censoring myself, without editing as I go, the collage process enables me to do the same thing in a visual way and just compile, tweak, cut, adjust, alter. I can. There's so many different ways that all these pieces of myself come together. All these pieces of what I'm trying to say come together, and I don't necessarily understand it until perhaps it's done, and I can stand back and look at it. Hello, Alpha. And once I stand back and look at what I've created and all the pieces, it tells a new story, and it's usually a more cohesive one than what I started out with. And Lottie loved the mix of collage drawing. I'm intrigued with mixing two or sometimes more art forms together. Like with my writing, you mix your writing with film to make mini videos to tell a story? Lottie? Okay, I'm not the boss of you, but I'm very intrigued. I would love to learn more about this. We need to have okay, my brain just got very excited there. I'm gonna just slow down for a moment. I want to have a community show and tell, a community art festival day or weekend or week where maybe we do little takeovers and share what we do. Lottie, do you have a platform where you share this work? Inquiring minds want to know. Yeah, and I think people I'm not the only one who thinks that. And Prin, oh, wow. Prin, so glad to see you're here as well. It's so great to see that you're here. How are things over there? You know what, I haven't asked you guys. There are people joining us from all over. We have some people joining us here from the States, in the UK. What's it like where you're at? If you want to share, just sort of, if you feel comfortable enough to say, if there's something you need to say, you don't have to. But if you'd like to give some feet on the ground kind of recognition of what's happening where you're at, we'd be happy to hear it in this virtual studio. Yeah, Prin, I agree. Lottie, do you have a page? Again, you're the boss of you. You are the boss of you. Just because I'm ridiculously excited about it does not mean that you have to jump and share and do all those things. Old weird lady here, just you do you. But I'd love to see. I am always excited to see when people combine different mediums. The project we're working on with Danny Crosby here. Yeah. So Prin giving us an update. Things are crazy here. Don't want to get into it too politically, but I've been having very interesting conversations. Yes. Yeah. I can imagine. Or maybe I can't imagine. I think we spend a lot of time making assumptions about what things are like in other countries based on what we see on the news or what we see in culture, different tweets or posts or whatever. I think being there in person, being in connection with another human being always makes it different. But there are, I'm hoping for the better, many potentially rupturous conversations happening, and I don't think that's a bad thing, because that rupture, well, as you know, it leaves room and makes opportunity for change and growth. And Lottie sharing the Facebook page, Unikitty Tales. Unikitty Tales, where I share my work. My work is quite unique and odd and funny. Unique and odd is my favorite thing, and funny, that's even better. Thank you so much for sharing. And other people, feel free to share as well if you like. If you have your websites or your Tumblrs or your DeviantArt or your, I don't know, all the things that exist these days. Remember, I'm old. Feel free to share them here. If it's something you want others to connect with, this is a place where we can share and create a little more opportunities for people to stumble upon. Again, the studio has suddenly become wide, open. That's where we are in this virtual space right now. Yeah. Today at the beginning, I don't know if you were here, Prin, we started with this awkward conversations and transformation and change and the idea of opposites and the push and pull. I reconnected with an American cousin today, which was a beautiful thing. But I think for both of us also complicated. I think there's this desire for people in our lives. I think a lot of us are very tired, some more than others. Some have been tired for a very long time because of the fight they've had to carry alone. There are new energies on the field. There are new people wanting to be of service in so many different ways. And having this time together as a globe where we've slowed everything down has given us opportunities to learn, to listen, to explore, to identify. And there's a rush of adrenaline, at least for me, that makes me feel like, I want to be active. And Madison, so great to see you. Thank you for joining us today. Yeah, Lynn, delighted that you're here too. You are, yes, of course, like-minded souls. We're not always like-minded. It's not all rainbows and puppy dogs. I do feel like that's one thing I tell people when they come in the studio, because there are edges. There are people who may not feel safe enough to give voice to their experiences right now. There are people who might be listening and wishing they could participate but can't. There might be people who do not like me or what I'm saying, but like what the studio represents. There's so many different voices out there, and I do want to recognize that some people may not feel comfortable enough or confident enough to speak their truth, especially in a thread where it's just chat in typed form. Yeah, we can't always hear the voice in our head of what the other is saying. And I want to take this moment to apologize if I have, unintentionally, but if I have othered people during my times during these live streams. Of course, I don't think it's my intention, but I like to examine that anyways, in case maybe it is. But that's why, again, if there are things you want to talk to me about things that I've done or said, to question me about, to seek clarification on, please reach out. Yeah, it's easy to unintentionally reduce someone to silence. And sometimes the silence is necessary. I know there's been times where I gotta be silent, and there are times where I need to speak. But sometimes I need to examine why I feel the need to speak. And I apologize if this is led off on its own tangent, but again, these things in my mind, yeah, people need to be safe. They need to be safe. They need to, conversations to happen, to be received. And that's not saying, I guess the idea of what safety is, what do we mean when we use the word safety comes into play. Oh, I'm so glad, Shelley, that art therapy has been helpful. We need to try it again. Please, yeah, there are plenty of fantastic art therapists out there. And, you reminded me, I will get to it. I'm going to put a pin in that because I do want to introduce some of the activities our students will be doing in the next few weeks for everyone. So remind me, Shelley, if it gets towards the end and I haven't shared that with you. Pin, virtual pin. Boop. Everyone interprets safety in a different way. So I think in my own head I've had to adjust it to, I wonder sometimes, and I've been in this place as well, where safety is confused the right word? It might not be, but safety is confused with being comfortable. And I don't know, I don't think they're the same thing. Oh, has the video gone away? I don't know if the video went away, but we're back. Safety and comfort aren't the same thing. I think feeling safe is having a sense of feeling whole and feeling heard and feeling seen, even if the person that you're with or the people that you're with aren't in agreement with you. Even if the change that you might want to see doesn't happen, but just knowing that you can that there's it's landed, that what you have said is being considered. I think safety has something to do with being considered wholly considered. And that's a difficult thing to do online, you know? Thank you, Lynn. So, Lynn, this feels like a very safe space, which I'm so grateful for during this curious time. Yeah. Well, we try. I think everyone who's here today tries. We don't always do it right, and we learn perhaps how to do it a bit better every time someone does have the confidence to say, can we try this? Or next time, please be mindful of this. Or that's one of the things I love about the creative process and about art. I think it was Shelley who referenced a conversation I had with Cora yesterday on Instagram Live. And the curious, just that thought that I hadn't oddly considered before, that the creative expression is one way, generally speaking, that all people feel there's a certain sense of more safety of sharing your truth through the creative expression. Because if someone doesn't like a song, hello, David, nice to see you here. That sense of my art can say what I don't feel quite confident enough or safe enough to say publicly right now, and people are more likely to consider the art than they might the person. That is a very difficult thought for me to comprehend fully, even though I know there have been times where I have been guilty of that exact thing, and maybe that's part of that growing process. But for what it's worth, as long as if the art can do that, that's a really powerful entry point. And it makes future change possible, future growth possible. And Carlos, safety and a safe space is an interesting term. I was respectfully challenged on using it this week. Interesting. Someone asked me whether I have a right to say I give a safe space, or the best I can do is attempt to offer it. She said that we can't be in that level of control of safety. The best we can do is check in on what safety is at an individual level. I don't have answers. This was just an interesting input and encouraged me to reflect a bit on how to offer that safe space. Yeah, it's so much more complex than we do, and the word safety is thrown around so frequently. And I wonder if what people who have considered it, what they might mean or want to mean is, this is an accountable space, or this is a learning space. Because at the end of the day, safety looks like a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And personally, even at the studio here online, I can't promise that to everyone. It's not, not being able to promise that I can deliver that isn't the same thing as saying this is an unsafe space. But each person has such, depending on what we've come from, what our privilege is, the different experiences we've been through, it'll look very differently for each one of us. And that's a beautiful thing to be able to teach one another about our experiences. What does safety look like to you? Carlos, I think it did make sense. No need to apologize. No need to apologize, even though there's a smiley emoji. No need to apologize. It made sense. And Lynn, I see that comment too, and I'll get back to that as well. Annie says it makes sense, and you're processing it. That's awesome. So extra confirmation. And altered books, thank you for bringing it back. So Lynn just asked if we've done altered books before. I have not. I've used books in Pages. I've altered books for the sake of other projects. I have not yet taken a book and transformed it into another work of art. Have you? Curious minds want to know. And I would love, and I've seen other projects out there. I would love to participate and to try something like that. I think my inner critics might get a little bit in the way with regards to that, because I love books so much. So I feel like there's an extra pressure on me. If you're going to tear a book apart or do something with it, it better be worth the exchange. Wow, that is quite a big inner critic. I'm going to have a talk with it later. It's a bit of a bullying thought. How do I know? How do you know it's not going to be good? You don't know that. You don't know that. Maybe we should also have an inner critic workshop where we create our inner critics, so that instead of seemingly talking to myself, I could actually talk to the inner critic. Well, thank you, Alpha. And Shelley, I feel safe here, and doing crafts and art journaling has helped me learn to talk about yourself again. Wow. What do you think? Do you think if there's Shelley, is there something you can be like? Is there? This is a complicated thing. Maybe it's not. Just say it, Mary. Say it. Let the words happen. Why do you think art journaling has helped? Curious to learn lots of ideas. But again, assumptions are only assumptions until you check them out, till you ask. And I want to learn about the community during this time too. So I want to learn more about everyone who's participating, if they feel comfortable sharing with me. The art journaling process is a really lovely one too. How many folks out there have an art journal? Perhaps this is another good point. Oh, Lynn has, yes, done several. Yes, there is a moral conscience about destroying a book. So we're coming back to art books, the transformation of a book into a work art. I choose very old, abandoned ones. Yes. Yeah, we have at the studio. We have donations of old encyclopedias, and maybe. Okay, Lynn, maybe we can figure something out and work on something together, or work on sharing something. I feel like there's something there to explore. I know a friend of mine took a book and transformed it into an art journal. So just every page of the book became a base for a work of art. Sometimes she incorporated the words on the page into the artwork. Sometimes she used it to create poetry by blacking out everything else that was there. Yeah, it's interesting. And he's saying she has 3 of the same book, so you can alter one. The Family of Man. Yeah, I think you can. I think I think that'll work. And Madison made a plasticine inner critic at some point. It is a handy exercise. I think for me, I've done it once before in my life. It becomes a really, just knowing what it looks like is something, making it real, something you can touch, set in front of you. I made a finger puppet, actually. It was a finger puppet inner critic out of Model Magic, which is this weird marshmallowy clay that air dries that's very light, and you can glue things to it and paint things with it. You can also color on it in markers, so it's quite user-friendly. Yeah, I made a finger puppet and literally created something that I could talk back to. And it is a powerful thing because we don't always, sometimes it's really hard to separate whose voice is whose. And again, art helps us do that, helps us untangle things a little bit. Disentangle? Untangle? Perspective. And art journaling, Shelley says, is liked by people and not really judged, but people might take words the wrong way. Sometimes, yeah. I think art journaling is a very personal process. It is a journal. I mean, when I think of a journal versus a book, or we call it a journal for a specific reason, because it's about us. Whereas anything else that we write might still involve us and come from us and be of us, but it's not necessarily intended to be so revealing. So an art journal that you have that is for you, you can choose to share it with people. Nothing wrong with that. But I do think there's something personal there that isn't necessarily meant for sharing with other people. It's another way of having a really beautiful conversation with yourself and the different parts of yourself, perhaps. Yeah, making an inner critic that is throwawayable. Thank you, B. Yeah. And Lynn, oh, wow, altered books. Oh, oh, great, Lynn. You'd love to share that? That'd be amazing. And you did one to honor your dear cat, Charlie, when he passed away. I would love to see that. Memorial pieces to honor those that we love, those that we've lost. They're important as well. To honor parts of ourselves that we're letting go of. To honor parts of ourselves that we want to welcome in. There's lots to work with there. Okay, I'll put it on the list. Yeah. And making, let's see. Haley. Haley says, Lynn, I love how you explore art and honoring love and life. Fantastic. Yes, indeed. For those of you, Haley is one of our students, which could bring me back around to talking about some of the things that they might be doing in the next couple of days. But let's see. Laura says, I have one and I started using an old day planner I never used. Have to pick it up again. I'm bad at continuous long-running projects. You're not the only one. I think being gentle enough with yourself to recognize that it's not necessarily something... I feel like... for me personally, if it begins to feel like homework, I'm out. If it is something... And, there's so many other parts of this life that are hard on us, that demand us to be in a certain place at a certain time and do things in a certain way. Should we not make space in our own lives to not necessarily expect that of ourselves, especially when it comes to things like that are so personal? I have journals that I return to, and I look at the last entry, and it was 3 years ago. And why not? Why not keep writing, keep the story going? That the lack of writing or the space there is also information. It also tells a story. Oh, there's such great conversations happening, guys. Let's see. Lottie says, I've only been here for a few minutes and everyone in this community has been so supportive, even though I'm new and I live in a different country. It's nice to hang out with other artists too. It's been a while having come from a science course at college. Oh, let's see. Previous to the pandemic. Thank you, everyone. Well, thank you for being here and being a part of the community. The space is created by everyone. That's a beautiful thing about placemaking that I love. It might start with one person who says, all right, here's the space, but the different energies that come into it, whether they are bold and they contribute to the chat like you do, or whether just listening quietly to the side. I am, at least in my own weird, wonderful mind, I believe that all of those things contribute to create and maintain the space. We're all holding space together. So you're a part of this. And you've contributed to the beautiful energy of this event, this hangout. So thank you for what you've given us. And likewise to everyone else who's participating. Yeah, inner critic, chucking them off balconies at your apartment. That takes me back to another conversation I feel we had a few weeks ago about letting go of art and the different ways that we can transform our art. As symbolically letting go, getting rid of. If you want to make an inner critic that you throw off the balcony of your apartment, the only thing I'd recommend, and I'm not the boss of you, is safety first. Maybe make it something very light that won't hurt anyone if it falls on their head. You don't want your inner critic falling on someone else's head. That's just, that just makes another entry point for another inner critic to step into the, I don't know, I'm not, again, there's something to think about there. Safety first, that's all I'm saying. And Prin had written journals but still feel them even though they are stored in a box upstairs. I still have all of my journals. And as I age, now they become artifacts. They seem like artifacts of my existence. I have one that is full of Depeche Mode lyrics. Just purely dedicated to every Depeche Mode song. I felt the need to not only listen to the music, but write down the lyrics. And if I, just beautifully, if anyone has seen my writing is, I'm not a doctor, but if the cliche is true, I could play one through my handwriting. But yeah, there's artifacts of our existence. Whatever we create and keep, that's something about journals. I think just the way You can close them up somehow, or roll them up, or keep them with you. Another thing that says, I was here. I am here. And I love that. And I still love Depeche Mode. Had such a huge crush on Martin Gore. Let's see. And Annie replying to Lynn. Oh, talking about the book, The Family of Man, photos of families at different phases of life around the world. Not a great title, want to make it clear. Yeah, and the book is an extraordinary thing, actually, if you can Google it. Similar to another, I think it's a different one. I have another book that is photos of people's lives on their lawns. Just the furniture, the appliances, the toys, and it tracks it through the different decades. And it's kind of a visual essay on, in one way, consumerism, but looking at it through like a global perspective and people's lives all over the world and what we have and what we do with what we have. Yeah. Oh, and there's some stuff from Lynn. Let's see. So I can't see, but I'm wondering if Lynn shared a picture. I can't wait to see it. And Prin, I think I'll start an art journal now. Thank you for that conversation. I think I'll start an art journal too. And yes, again, thanks B for the reminder. To folks who are just joining, thank you for joining us. You are welcome. I've been puttering along here today. I think extending this picture, I think I'm going to, once the little bits of watercolor that I'm doing have dried out, I think I will go back over and add some details, some texture with pencil crayon. Just to add a little more detail to this story. I can't, well, yeah, I'm in the middle of it, so I don't know what the story is yet. I'm just doing these live streams with folks has helped me trust that the story will emerge. And that every piece I do is kind of a co-creation, something that I do, but it's influenced by the conversations we have. And I like that a lot. Yeah, the sketchbook project, also sharing the sketchbook project out of Williamsburg, New York. There's a journal project as well that there's, I think, a few different sketchbook projects. There's one in, or maybe it's the same one. I thought it was out of Brooklyn, but it's, you purchase a little sketchbook from them, they send it to you, you fill it out in any way that you want, and then you send it back. And they have a library of sketchbooks. This might be also, there was also a trading sketchbook project where you do a page, then you send it on to another creator and they do the next page. There's something really, I love projects like that. So yes, share away, Lynn. And if anyone else knows of any really cool projects relating to transforming altered books or journaling, anything at all, share them, please. And Laura's saying, tends to let things out in individual collages. Laura is a particularly, if you don't mind me saying, gifted collage artist. And again, another fantastic example of just harvesting images that may not seem to relate to one another, but putting them together in such a way that at the end there's a cohesive story, an impactful story told through images alone. Yeah. Oh, feeling uneasy, Shelley? I'm sorry to hear that. Take care of yourself, okay? And if you need to reach out later on, feel free, okay? But doing what you need to do to help yourself feel safe, to feel cared for, take care of your heart, as my students will say. But you've just reminded me. So students and what's coming up. And we have, again, as I mentioned, Depeche Mode, lovely. I'm just catching up now. And yes, Lynn, Don't Let Your Inner Critic Fall on Someone Else's Head could be the name of my autobiography. Prin's done the Brooklyn Project, so Prin can contribute to the conversation around it. Fantastic. And starting a LivingRoom sketchbook project? I'm open. I'm totally open. So as we're nearing the end, because it is 3:20, I want to thank everyone for joining us, everyone who spent time with us. There's so many great ideas, and we can continue the conversation. So after this, Bea generally posts a beautiful picture of what she was working on it. Oh, some heartbreak puppy from Shelley. Take care of your heart. Everyone take care of your heart. I think that's being prescriptive, but I'm gonna say it anyways. Let's all take care of our hearts. I'll do it too. We have fantastic students who in the this week and the next will be starting some new activities on our Facebook page. And so one of them will be starting, I think Haley is starting with a gardening inspired project. I still need to check in with her today to figure out when that launches. But using the garden and gardening to open up conversations about growth in our lives, or just beautiful things we love seeing appear or occur in nature, and sometimes not so beautiful things. We have Renee, who is introducing a Forces of Nature project. So this is one where she will contribute a picture of art created by an artist who's not necessarily celebrated in the public eye. This could be marginalized artists, outsider artists, artists who don't receive the same equity and platform or support because of their race, their gender, their ethnicity, like many, many, many different things. And she'll be shining a spotlight on this artist, and then asking a question around that to spark different thoughts, different conversations, different creative writing, perhaps, different art creation. Then on Fridays, we're trying to start, so bear with us. We're going to be using the new Rooms the Messenger Rooms app on Facebook to create different groups where people can get together in kind of a Zoom-like meeting if they like. And we're going to start with a virtual coffee hangout every Friday morning. We think the time is going to be 9 a.m. and we'll open up the group to everyone soon once we've figured out the Messenger Rooms platform. So hopefully this week, fingers crossed, and folks can join us for a virtual, just a check-in and a little chat about how the week has been and what we hope for the weekend ahead. And that will be Michelle who's guiding that, and some of our other fabulous students will be joining in. And I think I'll pop in from time to time as well. We have... Oh yes, Nikki will be continuing on with the one-sentence story for a little while. Bea has also been doing one-sentence stories, and Carlos has been doing one-sentence stories as well. So you might see some trade-off over the next few weeks. That's where we invite people to experiment and explore creative writing and what their voice looks like. We share an image and then a prompt or a question to go along with that image. So tell a 1 or 2 sentence story about ... And just gives people a sense, an opportunity to do a little bit of creative writing and any different, it could be all, doesn't have to be, it could be a story, could be a poem, could be an article or essay, or any kind of storytelling is welcome. Just gives people a chance to dig into that creative voice in a very, we hope, manageable way to share the beginnings of something. Or perhaps that one sentence is everything. Aw. Well, thank you. Catching up on the thing. You guys are awesome. Thank you for being here. And man, I wish I could see you guys' art too. Well, hopefully there'll be more opportunities for that. And thank you. Yeah, Carlos, I echo that too. The discussions were awesome. Thanks for the contributions, and for those that were around in the background too. You're also amazing and are also valued here. I echo that, Carlos. Not all of us feel confident or feel up to chatting, making ourselves visible through chat, but that doesn't need to be that way. You can listen. You can consider from wherever you're at and do whatever you need to do. You can participate in the live stream, you can watch it afterwards and reflect on it in your own way and contribute in your own way. It is all welcome, and you are all welcome here. Let's see, back other students. I think Nikki is also going to be doing another kind of journaling project into the future as well. Now, Alpha, who I think is here in the conversation, is going to be hosting a gratitude journal or a gratitude list project. where she sparks off a conversation about what we might be grateful for about different things, different themes in our life. And the idea is that through simple contributions over time, collectively, we can create a list of what we're grateful for that represents and includes as many people as possible. And that, we might, at the end of 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, maybe we can do something creative with all of those things, all of those pieces that we're grateful for. What else? We have, who else am I missing? Students and Felicia. We're still working with Felicia to figure some stuff out. And every student, of course, has additional things they'd like to contribute. So we're just beginning, slowly but surely, dipping our toes in the water to see how we can connect in different ways. So when you see the students, say hi, get to know them, ask them questions. Hello, Lindsay. Don't be afraid to reach out and connect with them as well. Hello, Wendy. Nice to know you're here, Wendy. Connecting virtually comes easier to some of us than it does others. And I think for the students stepping into this world, I'm asking a whole lot of them. But I feel comfortable doing that, knowing that we have such a considerate community to guide them in the process of connection and relationship building. And when we again come to that conversation about safety and support, you are all the best guides in what that means to you. And taking time for you to do what you need to do, regardless of what I want you to do. Who am I? Just a weird art lady. Make sure, as long as you're connecting in with yourself, just like Shelley was doing, to see that she, where you're at. Are you okay? What do you need to be okay? Because it might not be this. But the students are going to be there to provide whatever support they can during the time as well. And my hope is that they're not only of service to you, but they are learning from you and getting to know you. And if you feel comfortable enough, letting them, being free to share what you feel comfortable sharing with them. We learn, I think, as humans by learning about what it's like to be other people. At least I have. So if that's something you would like to be a part of with these students, please feel free to join in and participate. And hopefully within the next few days, I'll have something solid to share, a calendar to let you know what it's all going to look like. And again, there's been some fantastic ideas coming up here. If anyone has any ideas of things you'd like to see, let us know. May not be able to happen right away, but I'm definitely I'm definitely always excited to see the potential of our community. What can we do? It's obvious, all of these fantastic people coming together today. We've got something really dynamic and beautiful here. I may not be able to do it on my own. In fact, I know I can't do it on my own. So let's continue these conversations and figure out how we can make these things happen. My head is very full. My heart is very full. And I'm very excited to see how all of our conversations, awkward or not, unfold moving into this future. A rough spot in the day. That's okay. We can get through it. Thank you everyone for joining me here today. I'm going to continue working on my piece here, and maybe I'll share it with you when it's done. I appreciate you all so very much, and I am so excited to be meeting new people in new ways and getting to know people I've known before in new ways. Thank you. Just thank you to everyone for sharing space and sharing time with me. And again, it's the end. I don't want to leave, but you know what? I should. Thank you for being here. And until we can connect and create with one another again in person, I really, really, really do look forward to connecting and creating with you online. And excited to see how we can explore other ways of connecting through creativity as well. Yeah. You're amazing people. Thank you for being humans in this world alongside this human. Take care of yourselves. Take care of those hearts. And hello, Lindsay. And yeah, looking forward to seeing you all again soon. Stay safe. Stay connected. Keep creating. How many different ways can I say goodbye? Lots. But okay, I'm just going to do it. Bye, Lynn. Oh my gosh. This is my dance for you. My having a hard time saying goodbye dance. Okay, that's enough of that. Bye, Lottie. Bye, Prin. Bye, everyone. Have a fantastic day or night, wherever you might be.